Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. I am Martin Prevost. We're continuing our backwards trip through the first 5 video game franchises turned into movies. We're in the halfway point, right smack dab in the middle. It is Street Fighter! I really love this movie. I do. Based on the video game series of the same name, primarily at the time the movie was made, Super Street Fighter 2, which was kind of like, today we'd basically look at it and say, you know, that would just be downloadable content, is what the Super Street Fighter games were. What Street Fighter Turbo, Super Street Fighter, I think there were some other ones that had kept being released as Street Fighter 2 with something else, Alpha. It was all the Street Fighter 2, and that's what this is based on, because the original Street Fighter game, only 3 characters were retained for Street Fighter 2, and meaning only 3 characters from the original game make it into the movie. And that is Ryu, Ken, and Sagat. I was doing research while I was watching the movie, because I really like this movie, so I was mainly rewatching it for my own entertainment value than the necessity to rewatch it to film this review, because, yeah, I'm a Street Fighter fan as far as this film goes, as evident by the fact I've got a Blu-ray copy of it, I've got a VHS copy of it, and I have a Laserdisc copy of it. This is the last review for this series. You'll see the Laserdiscs, although I'm sure Double Dragon and Super Mario Brothers have Laserdiscs. I don't have them, so I can't display them. But I have a Street Fighter Laserdisc. I'm going to throw my Street Fighter Laserdisc on my set. I don't have a Laserdisc player, but I've got Street Fighter on Laserdisc if I ever find one. So basically, the video game is about a tournament where you travel around the world and fight characters from various countries. The movie is not about that. I think they kind of got it. There is one, it's called Street Fighter 2 The Movie, which is, again, based on the video game Street Fighter 2. It's a movie of it, and it kind of follows that a little closer. It's an animated movie. But for the live-action movie, they decided to do more of the Dick Tracy route, which is to take the property, take all the characters, split them into 2 groups, good guys and bad guys, and try to get as many of them in there as possible, and not having to go into a lot of backstory by simply giving them alliances. Mortal Kombat should have followed this method, and I think you would have had much more fleshed out characters overall, because somehow just knowing that, like, Vega, who has almost no dialogue in this movie, but you know he's Sagat's number 2, you just accept him as the villain. You don't need to know anymore, because you know he's Sagat number 2. You know he's Vega from the video games. And that's it. That's all you need to know to accept that that character's a bad guy and to be okay with what he does throughout the course of this movie. So on the bad guy side, you have M. Bison, Sagat, Vega, DJ, and Zangief. Also, Blanca and Dhalsim kind of fall in a middle category. And then over on the good guys' side, you have Ken, Ryu, Guile, Cammy, Balrog, E. Honda, Cammy, T-Hawk, and Captain Sawada. I'm really actually surprised I got every last one of those characters correct. Captain Sawada is a character who's actually only in Street Fighter, the movie, the game. That's right, they made an actual video game based on the movie that's based on a video game. Yep, that happened. That's a thing. That's a whole different pot. Actually, buy the Blu-ray. If you don't love this movie, that's fine. If you love random extra features, this is the thing for you. Or maybe it was my DVD. Nope. Video game sequences, which are the Street Fighter, the game, the movie, the sequences. I believe it also has bonus features talking about the toys. I think it's the Blu-ray. I did have the special edition DVD before I upgraded to the Blu-ray. But that one I know had the toy commercials and stuff still on it, and I think this Blu-ray does, because I think I watched them one of the last couple of times I watched this movie, which would have been on Blu-ray. I just happened to stumble across it. So yeah, so this movie had a video game based on it, which out of all 5 is the only one that got a video game. It's the only video game movie based. It's the only movie based on a video game that got a video game made of it of these initial 5. I'm sure I'm a little hard-pressed to think of any other video game movie that got a video game. I know they're out there. I know there are some. There has to be. But I can't think of any other live-action video game movies that got a video game off of it other than Street Fighter, because I think it was such a weird concept with Street Fighter. Anyways, so you got your heroes and your villains. Basically, M. Bison is the main villain. He is a tyrant, a despot, a terrorist who plots world domination, played amazingly by Raul Julia. He is the best actor in this movie by leaps and bounds, and he outacts everyone in every scene, and he was dying while this movie was being made, but he outacts everyone in every scene of this movie. He is worth watching this movie. It's worth just for his performance as M. Bison, because he is so over the top. It is hilarious, and it is amazingly good. So M. Bison is attacking the country of Shadaloo, and trying to take it over so he can begin his world domination plans. He's taken hostage a bunch of allied nations. It's not the UN, it's the allied nations. He's taken hostages from an allied nations kind of like peacekeeping group who are there to give support, medical aid to people of Shadaloo. He's taken them hostage and has demanded a $20 million ransom within 72 hours. Guile, who is the leader of the allied nations' forces, doesn't want to give in to him. He is backed up immediately by Cammy and T-Hawk, while M. Bison is immediately backed up by Zangief and DJ as his right and left-hand man. While this war story is going on, you also have Chun-Li, E. Honda, and Balrog, who are working as reporters. Well, a reporter and her crew, who are also trying to stop Sagat and M. Bison from doing their things, because Sagat is a ruthless crime lord in Shadaloo, who works with Vega, and who is at odds with Ken and Ryu, because Ryu. He's at odds with them because of a gun deal gone bad. So that's where all of our... And Captain Swada, who is only in the video game movie, the video game of the movie, works with Guile. Dalsim is a hostage of M. Bison, who is forced to work as a scientist. He's a genetic scientist who is held hostage and forced to work for M. Bison. And Blanca is the experiment. He is a soldier for the Allied Nations who knows Guile, who is taken to be turned into a super soldier. And that's where all the characters from the game sit. And unlike Mortal Kombat, I was able to name them all. I was able to tell you what they all do in this movie. And they all have a decent amount of screen time and things to do in this hour and 50-minute movie. So yeah, I think the people who made Street Fighter did a lot better job. A year before Mortal Kombat came out, or 2 years, I forget what the difference is, putting together a better video game movie. I think because, again, they took the concept of the video game and they went, no, let's see what we can do with these characters instead of the video game's plot, which was, again, just characters fighting in a tournament around the world. This movie also has way better fight choreography. Like, the fight scenes in this movie are far better. Also, every character by the end of this movie gets into at least the most basic representation of what they wore in the video game. Like, it finds ways to get them into their video game costumes, just because, and it never seems forced. Like, Ken and Ryu spend the majority of the movie in, like, suits or prison uniforms. It's the fact that their suits are kind of disheveled and beat up, that they're told, hey, go get them clean clothes, and the clean clothes they are given happen to be a red and a white gi, and that's how they get into their costumes. So it kind of, like, they didn't get them into those costumes right away, but they found a reason, oh, they need clean clothes. What is readily available in M. Bison's fortress are soldiers' uniforms and the gear they wear when they're working out and practicing, and they're given that. They're given the gear they're wearing when they're working out and practicing, which makes sense for two guys who know how to, actually do martial arts, that they choose the martial arts gi over the uniforms. Plus, the uniforms make them look less like make them look like soldiers, where the gis just make them look like guys in gis. And it's as simple as that. Like, At one point, Jean-Claude Van Damme is Guile, whose outfit is camo pants and a tank top. The colors are wrong, but he gets into that just by removing the shirt of his military fatigues before he fights Ed Bison. Ed Bison spends this entire movie in his video game accurate costume, which is great. Even little pieces just are found somehow. Like Balrog, who's a boxer in the games, ends up in the outfit with boxing gloves. Where he gets the boxing gloves from, I don't know, but he ends up getting them. Zangief, who basically wears like a set of wrestling trunks in the game with some fur on it, ends up in just basically red cutoffs that do the same like look of the trunks with something in front of it to like represent the fur. Though he was in pants, so I'm not 100% sure how that transformation happened in his fight with the Honda. So it's just a really cool moment of like, they found good ways of getting around it to get these characters to kind of look like they do in the video game. Even Sagat, who is supposed to have Sagat's the one they get the farthest away from because he fights in a pair of trunks with taped fists, taped feet, and then he's got a huge slash down his chest. They never get him into the trunks or the taped feet. I think it's just because that would have been a really weird, like there was no good way to make that setup work, but they did eventually get him with his shirt off so you can see the scar down his chest. Again, it's not until the end of the movie, but they get him into it, and same thing with DJ. He doesn't end up, his last scene is when he's finally looking right, and the fact this movie ends with all of the heroes hitting their, like, win pose. Like, if you're playing the game and you win with one of them, the pose they strike, that's what they do at the end of this movie. They all hit their win pose, and it's just a really good service to the material without having to be bound by it. I really like it. I really like Street Fighter. I think this was a very well done movie. I think people gave it 2 out of a time when it came out. Like, it's a good piece of, if you just want to turn off your brain and watch something entertaining for an hour and 40-something minutes, hour 40, hour 50, that's what this is. That's what this is. It's a really great movie to do that with. It's fun. It moves really well. Like, I thought the same thing with the original Mortal Kombat. I didn't say it in that review because I really just wanted to beat up Mortal Kombat Annihilation and The Journey Begins. But that one was also paced fairly well. But this one is, like, it just keeps moving. It doesn't spend too long on any one moment. And when it has a great line of dialogue, it has no problem giving that great line of dialogue. My favorite scene in this entire movie is M. Bison is talking with Cammy, he's holding hostage. And Cammy's telling him the story of how M. Bison, before he was the warlord he is now, he was just, a guy with a small army who was terrorizing little communities, and one day he got ran out of Cammy's town by farmers. And then he had Cammy's dad shot as they fled. And she's telling this story, berating M. Bison, and his response is simply, to you this was the biggest day of your life, but to me, it was Tuesday. Like, it's a great line, and it's delivered so well. I don't know how I've never caught this line before, the viewing I just did, but Dulcine's last line is also amazing, where he's saying, I'm going to stay and get blown up in Bison's lab because I need to atone for what I've done to Blanca, what I've done, creating this green, muscly monster that has this warped mind now. I need to atone for that. And Guile looks at him and goes, but you said you did nothing wrong. And his response is, when good men do nothing, that's still evil. Like, it's a great line. And it's a very powerful line. Like, when good men do nothing, that's still evil. Like, if you're not doing anything to stop it, you're still just being evil. And again, I got that from Street Fighter. Street Fighter! I really love this movie. It's one, that isn't that far. Like, it's not in my top 100, but it's in my top 150, easily. I can sit down and watch this movie. Like, I know I watched it less than a year ago, and I had so much trouble getting myself to rewatch the Mortal Kombat movies for this series, and I finally did, and it was like, oh, well, that's done. I had to go do something today. I got home, and I went, I'm going to watch Street Fighter. Like, there wasn't any, like, I was like, I'm gonna watch Street Fighter. I have no problem with this. I don't care if I just watched it a couple of months ago. I'm watching Street Fighter because I like this movie. This is a good movie, and there's a reason. If you go back on the channel, you'll find a top 10 favorite video game movies list. This is way back in year 1. It's number 2. It's number 2 on that list for a reason, because I can always come back to this movie and always super enjoy it. I really like Street Fighter. If you've never checked out the original live action with Jean-Claude Van Damme playing the American Guile without doing anything to his voice, that is comedy enough. That he has an American flag tattooed on his bicep because that's what Guile has in the video games, and he is still speaking with his Belgian his Belgian voice. He does nothing to cover up his voice for this movie, and you get Raj Julia, who gives a tremendous performance in a movie that does not deserve it. Like this movie benefits from him being in it, because it makes it, like, if he wasn't in it and they cast somebody else, it probably would have been like, this isn't bad, this is a alright movie. Him being in it just knocks this movie out of the park, and it's, like, it makes it go from, this isn't a bad movie, to this is a really good movie. So, he just, again, he outacts everyone while dying. And that's just a great, that's a great actor right there. So yeah, check out Street Fighter. I really love this movie. Nothing to rant about here. I enjoy it. I have nothing against it. It never got a direct sequel. It got a remake in Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li, which I've only watched once and wasn't that thrilled with when it was done. Like, a lot of their choices seemed questionable in that movie. Whereas this one, it strays away, and every Street Fighter property basically strays away from the plot of the games to tell a different story. But I think this one did it very well, and I think it maximized the use of characters while still keeping you interested in the movie. Again, I recommend Street Fighter if you've never seen it. So yeah, alright, next week I move on to the second video game franchise turned into a movie ever, and that is Double Dragon. I'm excited to watch Double Dragon again. It's a guilty pleasure, but I won't go into it now. Tune in next week to listen to what I've got to say, because I'm going to rewatch it before I film. I'm Martin Prevost. This is Rank the Movies. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, so you don't miss any content. Let me know what you thought of Street Fighter. Loved it, hated it. I don't care. Just let me know what you think. And, have a good one. Peace.